He had enough water for one more night. Then 3 exhausted Apache travelers appeared at his gate. The cowboy knew what giving them water could cost him. His neighbors had warned him never to trust strangers from the desert. But when one of them whispered, "Please, my sister cannot walk another mile," he couldn't turn away. He gave them his water, all of it. He thought he had simply saved 3 thirsty travelers. He had no idea that before sunrise, 25 women would stand outside his cabin, and one of them would carry a secret that would break his heart. If stories about courage, kindness, and unexpected human connections touch your heart, like, share, and subscribe to Story Vault. Now let's get started. Arizona Territory, May 1085. Cowboy Elias Rourke lived alone on a small ranch, surrounded by miles of unforgiving desert. That summer, the heat had been merciless. His well was nearly dry, so when 3 Apache travelers appeared at his fence, Elias hesitated. The oldest, Thomas, could barely stand. Beside him was Luma, carrying a small bundle against her chest. The third, Nakai, kept looking toward the horizon. "Water," Thomas whispered. Elias looked at his barrel. There wasn't much left. Still, he opened it. "Drink." Luma tried to refuse. "You need it too." Elias shook his head. "I can survive one thirsty night." They drank slowly. Before leaving, Luma placed a small blue bead in his palm. "For your kindness." Elias smiled. "Keep it." But Luma closed his fingers around it. "Tomorrow you'll understand." They disappeared into the darkness. Elias barely slept. At dawn, hoofbeats echoed across the valley. He stepped outside and froze. 25 Apache women stood beyond his fence. Some carried baskets, some carried blankets. Others carried children. Elias instinctively reached for his rifle. Then an elderly woman stepped forward. Luma walked beside her. "This is Noma," Luma said. Noma looked at Elias. "Yesterday you gave water to my people when you had almost none left." She pointed toward the women. "These are the families from our settlement." Elias lowered his rifle. "I only gave them water." Noma smiled sadly. "No, you gave them a reason to believe not everyone had forgotten their humanity." Then she revealed the secret. For months, their settlement had been struggling to survive because a natural spring that once fed their valley had disappeared. Nakai had discovered another underground water source, but reaching it required crossing dangerous land controlled by armed men. They needed someone who knew the surrounding ranch roads. Elias did. Together, the women, travelers, and Elias worked for 3 days. They followed an old trail through the hills. On the 4th morning, they found water beneath a rocky basin. Clear, cold, flowing. The women cried. Elias simply stood there, watching the first bucket fill. But Noma wasn't smiling. She handed him a folded piece of cloth. Inside was an old photograph. Elias stared at it. The photograph showed a young woman standing beside his father. His breath caught. "My mother." Noma nodded. 25 years ago, your father gave our people food during a terrible winter." Elias stared at her. "He never told me. He didn't want praise." Noma looked toward the spring. "Neither should you." Elias had thought he was giving water to 3 strangers. But kindness had a memory. His father had planted it 25 years earlier. Elias unknowingly watered it again. And somehow it had returned to his doorstep. That's the strange thing about kindness. It may disappear from your hands, but it never truly disappears. It travels through people, through families, through generations. And one day, when you least expect it, it finds its way back home. If this story touched your heart, tell us where you're watching from. And answer this. If you had only enough water for yourself, would you still share it with a stranger who desperately needed it? Write your answer in the comments. And if you believe kindness should never depend on who someone is, like, share, and subscribe to Story Vault for the next story. Because sometimes the smallest kindness you give today becomes someone else's hope tomorrow.